Imagine this. You're at a party. Laughter bubbles around you, glasses clink, conversations overlap in warm, meaningless waves. You hear someone joke about a viral meme, another complain about their job, a third debate which celebrity is hottest. You smile, nod, even laugh, but inside, a quiet voice whispers, none of this matters. Then it hits you, you're alone in a room full of people. Not because you're shy. Not because you're unlikable. But because every time you try to speak your truth, to share the ideas that keep you up at night, the questions that haunt you, the absurdity of small talk in a dying world, you see it. The glazed eyes. The awkward pause. The subtle shift away. So you learn to play the game. You dumb yourself down, laugh at jokes you don't find funny, pretend to care about gossip that feels trivial. And it works, people like you. But the more you perform, the lonelier you become. Here's the paradox. The smarter you are, the harder it is to connect. The isolation paradox. This isn't about arrogance. It's about mismatch. The human brain craves two things, understanding and belonging. But the deeper you think, the wider the gap grows between these needs. Average minds bond over shared experiences, sports, TV, office drama. Exceptional minds crave shared meaning. Why are we here? What's wrong with society? Why does no one else seem to care? The French philosopher Blaise Pascal saw this centuries ago. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. But what happens when you can sit alone, when solitude feels more honest than forced socialization? The weight of seeing too much. Intelligence isn't just IQ points or trivia knowledge. It's pattern recognition, the ability to see through illusions others take for granted. You notice how every conversation follows predictable scripts. You see the emptiness behind societal rewards, money, status, likes. You can't unsee the contradictions in religion, politics, even human nature. Like Nietzsche's madman screaming about God's death to an indifferent crowd, you realize, this tremendous event is still on its way, still wandering, it has not yet reached the ears of men. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer put it brutally, the more a man has in himself, the less he will want from others. But is this strength, or a prison of your own making? The great question. So here's the question that changes everything. Is loneliness the price of intelligence? Is your isolation a sign of superiority, or a warning that you've lost something essential? The answer lies in the shadows of your mind. And the first step to finding it is admitting a terrifying truth. You might be lonely not despite your intelligence, but because of it. The loneliness of intelligence isn't accidental, it's engineered. Your mind didn't evolve for truth. It evolved for tribe survival. And therein lies the tragedy. Every neural pathway that makes you intelligent also sabotages your ability to belong. The evolutionary mismatch. Consider two primal scenarios. 50,000 years ago, the hunter who questioned why the tribe painted cave art was ostracized, while those who joined the ritual survived. Today, the employee who asks why we waste 40 hours per week in offices is difficult, while those who nod along get promoted. Nothing changed. Our brains still run on Paleolithic software where fitting in meant not starving. Intelligence, real, disruptive intelligence, was never meant to thrive. As psychologist Jordan Peterson observes, the brighter you are, the more you see through things, and the more difficult it becomes to play along. The cognitive betrayal. Your intelligence works against you in three devastating ways. Hyper-awareness of patterns. While others enjoy small talk, you detect the script, weathered work, complaints, silence. Like watching a movie after reading the script, human interaction becomes predictable, and thus, unbearable. Delayed gratification wiring. Most brains reward gossip and quick dopamine. Yours craves depth, the slow burn of real understanding. MIT studies show smarter people prefer solitary activities, reading, coding, because socializing feels nutritionally empty. Metacognition curse. You don't just think, you think about thinking. In conversations, you're simultaneously participating and analyzing the participation, a self-sabotaging duality. The philosophical abyss. Great minds have grappled with this for centuries. Schopenhauer compared human society to porcupines, we crave warmth but prick each other when too close. Kierkegaard, the crowd is untruth. Not evil, just unconscious. Huxley's Brave New World predicted a society where people love their oppression through distraction and pleasure. The common thread? Intelligence creates a chasm between you and the normal world, one that can't be unseen. The social betrayal. Modern society compounds the problem. The tyranny of low standards. Social media rewards hot takes over nuance. Dating apps optimize for looks, not intellect. Workplaces punish critical thinking with culture-fit blacklists. The isolation of specialization. The smarter you get, the fewer peers exist. A PhD in quantum physics has tilted 200 true peers globally. The authenticity tax. Every time you don't fake interest in sports, celebrities, social capital evaporates. As Sartre noted, hell is other people, but only if you're awake enough to notice. The psychological trap. Here's where it gets dangerous. The loneliness overthinking more loneliness spiral creates neural pathways that physically rewire your brain, per Harvard neuroplasticity studies. You become more sensitive to social errors. Why did they say that? Less tolerant of superficiality. More likely to retreat into your mind. Like Nietzsche, over man stuck in a world of last men, you face an impossible choice. Dumb down to connect, or stay smart, and stay alone. The turning point. But what if this isn't the end, but the initiation? What if the pain of loneliness isn't a defect, but the growing pains of a mind evolving past its programming? The loneliness of intelligence doesn't just hurt, it mutates you. Like slow radiation poisoning, the transformation is invisible at first. A slight discomfort in crowds. A growing preference for books over people. Then, one morning, it hits you. You've become a stranger to your own species. The neurological toll. Your brain wasn't built for this kind of solitude. Mirror neuron starvation. These specialized cells mirror the emotions and actions of others. They thrive on meaningful connection. But without regular social reciprocity, they atrophy, literally. Studies show that intelligent people with weak social ties display brain changes resembling those of chronic stress sufferers. The overthinking spiral. Solitude fuels your brain's default mode network, the system responsible for self-referential thought. Left unchecked, it becomes a nuclear reactor of hyper-self-monitoring. Was my tone off? Existential rumination. Does any of this mean anything? Phantom pain. Loneliness activates brain regions identical to physical injury. Dopamine dysregulation. Intelligent minds crave novelty and complexity. When conversation feels shallow, you chase stimulation elsewhere. Wikipedia rabbit holes at 3 a.m. Philosophical debates in your head. Parasocial relationships with podcast hosts or Twitch streamers. Your brain adapts, but maladaptively. The social consequences. As isolation deepens, the feedback loop tightens. The erosion of social skills. Social intelligence, like a muscle, weakens with disuse. Eventually, you forget how to tolerate surface-level banter. When to fake laugh politely. That most people need small talk to feel emotionally safe. The uncanny valley effect. When you try to blend in, it backfires. People sense something's off, not because you're broken, but because your authenticity is filtered through performance. The professional penalty. In the modern workplace, these are the real metrics. Agreeability, accuracy. Groupthink, independent insight. Politics, competence. You're labeled not a culture fit, a polite exile from upward mobility. The existential damage. But the worst damage isn't neurological or social, it's existential. The gaslighting effect. When the world insists that everything is fine, you begin doubting the validity of your own perception. Jung nailed it. Loneliness does not come from having no people around, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. The meaning crisis. Intelligent minds don't just want information, they need coherent purpose. Instead, modernity offers consumerism as identity, business as virtue, distraction as anesthesia. The result? A silent scream behind the eyes. You function, but barely. The empathy paradox. You understand people intellectually, you read their emotions, motives, and blind spots like an open book. But you feel disconnected viscerally, like an anthropologist observing a culture you can't quite inhabit. The escape attempts that backfire. Most solutions the intelligent try? They double down on the trap. Intellectualizing emotions. Studying loneliness instead of feeling it. Reading 100 psychology books while avoiding a single real confession. Simulated connection. Engaging in online debates that masquerade as intimacy. Forming emotional bonds with fictional characters or long-dead philosophers. The hermit fantasy. Dreaming of total withdrawal into a forest or cabin. Forgetting that even Nietzsche needed someone to talk to. You try to outthink loneliness. But loneliness is not a puzzle, it's a signal. The crossroads. Here's the truth they never taught you. Your loneliness is not a personal failure. It's a design flaw in the system. Modern society demolished what once grounded the gifted. Tribal mentorship for those who saw further. Craft guilds where mastery found meaning. Spiritual frameworks for making peace with inner complexity. You are not defective. You are a mind built for depth, dropped into a culture engineered for shallow. And that realization isn't your undoing. It's your awakening. The tragedy of the lonely mind isn't just its solitude, it's that most never learn to wield it. You've been told your isolation is a defect. But what if it's actually your crucible? The greatest minds in history didn't escape their pain, they transmuted it. Nietzsche called it self-overcoming. Jung spoke of individuation. The Stoics mastered the art of solitude. Now it's your turn to rebel, not by conforming, but by transforming. Strategy 1, the 2% rule. You don't need everyone to understand you. You need the right ones. The math of belonging. Statistically, only about 2% of the population operates on your wavelength. That's not arrogance, it's math. Stop pouring yourself into the 98% who can't receive you. Where to find them? Deep corners of the internet, philosophy discords, coding subcultures. Hidden oases in real life, writers' retreats, maker labs, cognitive science salons. Dead intellectual giants, mentor with Nietzsche, converse with Sagan, dream with Wolf. The upgrade. Replace "why doesn't anyone get me?" with "who is actually worth being understood by?" This is not elitism, it's emotional triage. Strategy 2, depth dowsing. Most interactions feel shallow because we treat them like surface-level exchanges. But what if you learn to dig? The depth protocol. Ask soul-piercing questions. What would you do if fear didn't exist? What belief are you currently outgrowing? Listen like an anthropologist, curious, detached, without agenda. Mirror vulnerability, give what you want to receive. The reality. Yes, you'll strike out 19 times out of 20. But that one connection? It might change your entire orbit. The deeper your question, the truer your tribe. Strategy 3, anti-loneliness practices. You can't logic your way out of loneliness. You have to retrain your nervous system. Controlled exposure. Schedule 90 minutes a week of intentional, low-stakes interaction, e.g., office small talk, casual meetups. Think of it like strength training, a few awkward representatives today for fluency tomorrow. Shadow integration. Journal a dialogue with the version of you that does blend in. Ask, what qualities does that persona have that I secretly admire or suppress? Purpose anchoring. Anchor your days in something larger than yourself. Art, activism, invention. As Einstein put it, only a life lived for others is worth living. Loneliness often dissolves in the presence of meaning. The alchemy of alone. Isolation doesn't just wound, it refines. The creative crucible. Virginia Woolf didn't mourn solitude, she built a cathedral in it. A room of one's own was a manifesto, not a complaint. The thinking space. Descartes birthed his greatest works not at a university, but in self-imposed exile. Solitude cleared the noise. Truth followed. The depth advantage. Your quiet, your overthinking, your detachment, these aren't flaws. They're adaptive traits for a world you're helping shape, not just survive. What once felt like exile becomes sanctuary when you master the terms. The final realization. This rebellion isn't about dimming your brilliance to fit in. It's about learning when to turn inward for insight and when to reach outward for resonance. The lie was that you had to choose between intelligence and belonging. The truth? You were always meant to be a bridge between worlds. So here's the final choice. Will you suffer your gift? Or will you wield it? There comes a moment, often in the quietest hour of the night, when the loneliness lifts like fog, and you finally see. It was never that you were too intelligent. It was that your intelligence emerged in a world not built to hold it. The existential shift. Here's the reframe that changes everything. What if your loneliness isn't a flaw, but a compass? That hollowness in crowds isn't a sign you're broken, it's your intuition rejecting counterfeit connection. That social exhaustion isn't anxiety, it's your soul's rebellion against noise without meaning. That ache of alienation isn't exile, it's the early signs of a new kind of belonging. Nietzsche caught a glimpse. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. You weren't in pain because you were wrong. You were in pain because something inside you was right. The intelligence-loneliness paradox, solved. The math works out when you finally understand. Loneliness is the price of vision. You notice what others overlook. You question what others accept. You carry truths that don't fit into small talk. Of course you feel alone. You're awake in a world half asleep. Connection exists in dimensions. Most people settle for surface belonging, sports talk, gossip, status games. But you crave resonant belonging, a glance that says I see you, a conversation that shifts your internal weather. You're not asking for too much. You're asking for something deeper. Your gift was your wound all along. The same sensitivity that makes noisy rooms unbearable lets you detect unspoken truths. The same detachment that alienates you gives you radical clarity. The same mind that spirals at night? It crafts brilliance by day. The burden and the gift are twins. The way forward. This isn't about dulling your brilliance to fit in. It's about channeling it into something the world didn't know it needed. Stop apologizing for your mind. That oversharing? It was just depth in a shallow space. That awkward silence? It was the pause before something real. That thing you feared was too much? It was exactly enough for the right people. Build a new kind of tribe. Seek vertical relationships, those that transcend time, age, or trend. Form asynchronous bonds, letters to thinkers long gone, journals for readers yet to come. Practice selective vulnerability, go deep with the few, stay kind with the many. Reframe the ache. That hollowness isn't failure, it's space for something profound. That alienation isn't rejection, it's raw material for your voice. That fatigue isn't weakness, it's your body's alarm for false belonging. The ultimate realization. Here it is. You weren't lonely because you were different. You were different because you were meant to build something only the lonely can imagine. Kafka wrote for readers not yet born. Tesla dreamed of systems no one could yet conceive. Woolf wrote rooms into existence for minds like hers, and like yours. Your solitude wasn't a sentence. It was a sanctuary. Not exile, preparation. The invitation. So when the night goes still and you feel it rising again, that ache, that beautiful emptiness, do this. Light a candle, literal or symbolic. Thank your mind for its relentless, radiant clarity. Ask, what is this solitude asking me to create? The answer won't be loud. It will whisper in the book you finally begin. The project you dare to pursue. The life you stop apologizing for. This is the secret lineage of the lonely brilliant. First they walk alone. Then they lead. If this reached you, you've already begun to see it. You're not here to fit in. You're here to redefine what fitting in even means. The question isn't why you feel different anymore. It's what will you build with that difference? The world needs what only the lonely can see.